all of Capricorn season is over, whole new energy rushing in. I always think of Aquarius as like Capricorn's the dark side, Aquarius is the light side. If you put it in the cycle of the hero's journey, Capricorn's the type of testing when we are trying to figure out, use our discipline, self-discipline and what our metal as in how strong we are. We learn through trials and difficult situations. When we move into Aquarius, it's like the aha moment that, whenever you've been in something hard and you've been trying and working, and eventually you're like, oh, wait, I get it. And you get to shift gears and go off in a new direction. With that sun entering a new sign, you can always use the chart of a sun entering a new sign when you want to forecast the entire month ahead. And the weird thing about all of the zodiac seasons, so the ones that we had for Scorpio and Sagittarius, all the way through Aries, that 6-month period, the moon has been in its waning crescent phase for all of them, which means there's something about the forecast for the entire 6-month period, which is about the ending of things. When cycles in astrology repeat in multiple different places, astrologers know that something's up. Something's up, and we have to deal with it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be showing up over here on that side and up there on that side. And we look over here and the same thing. It's like, well, okay. Kind of like you go to see an astrologer and they give you one message and you're like, okay. You go to a tarot reader, you get the same message and you're like, wait, how come I'm getting the same message in different places? Because the universe is trying to get you to like pay attention. So we are wrapping up some big cycles right now.
After what's been going on for the past few years, you need to start making some wise financial decisions. If you're feeling lost and don't know where to start, we got some quick tips from an expert for you. Let's hear what financial astrologer Mitchell Scott Lewis has to say.
I think that astrology is a good tool to have at any time. A lot of people want to know, what can I do to improve my financial world? What can I do to improve my retirement fund? Believe me, I made money. I knew nothing about Wall Street, commodities, or anything else. And because of astrology, my very first trade found the top of the cotton market. And I made thousands of dollars within 2 weeks of going on the floor. 2023 was a particularly volatile year with 3 of the major planets changing signs. What I hope people get out of this webinar is some useful tools. By the end of the series, I would like people to have a good indication of how astrology works in the financial markets, a usable concept about how they can go about making trades and investments for themselves. And I believe that astrology will allow you to do that.
So, are you feeling inspired to make 2023 the year of your financial transformation? Just head to astrologyhub.com/outlook to start making some wise financial moves right now. Mitch has been helping his clients for over 30 years, so you can rest assured you'll be in good hands. Again, it's astrologyhub.com/outlook, and I hope to see you there.
All right, everybody. So this is literally the week that I have been waiting for months. And I've been telling people who are feeling stuck, stagnant, frustrated, and just overwhelmed with this desire to move forward, just to wait until this week that we're about to embark upon. Donna, I am so hopeful that you are going to give us some good news about some of the shifting tides this week. But I'm so happy you're here to be the one to talk to us about the energy this week. And for those of you who don't know her, Donna Woodwell is our current Inner Circle astrologer teacher. She is also the headmistress of the School of Magic and Mastery. She is also one of our featured astrologers on our new reading platform, Astrologer Connect. Donna, thank you for being here with all of us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to always be here with you, Amanda.
All right. And can you give us some good news for this week? Tell us, in terms of the overarching theme, is this the week where the tides are starting to turn and we're starting to feel that forward movement?
I can indeed tell you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is not a train. It is the exit for the crazy that we have been undergoing for the past while.
Amazing.
And of course, everything fits into a story of cycles within cycles. But you and I both have had this week underlined on our calendars. Like, this is the week the gates finally start opening and we can move forward again.
Yes, I kept telling people. I mean, literally, the dentist at the dentist, I'm getting my teeth cleaned, and he's like, "How come it feels so weird?" I'm like, "Just wait until January 18th." I've been telling everybody I know that's having this feeling of like, God, things are just stuck. What's going on? It feels like I'm going backwards. Feels like it's hard to make some forward movement. It's like, just wait until January 18th. And then last week, Claire also said that January 24th is a really important date.
Yeah. So we are in this very odd set of cycles that just every time, every astrology is just cycles within cycles. Sometimes they repeat, sometimes they repeat in different ways. Sometimes they conflict. And this is just one of those times when the planets that indicate some kind of forward motion, like our thought patterns, that's Mercury, and our energy principles, that's Mars. And even Uranus, which is just the zany, I can't stand being in the box. All three of them have been going backwards in the sky for a while. And Mercury just joined the mix at the end of December. And because he's in a very earthy place, because all these other planets are going backwards, this has been the craziest Mercury retrograde I think I can remember in a very long time. The things I have had to do to make things work, like, "Oh, I meant to do that," have been ridiculous. Like hand subscribing dozens of people so that they can show up in a webinar that they already subscribed to. It's been like just detail after detail. And that finally ends this week, as you said, on Wednesday the 18th. And Uranus is the last of the retrograde planets. It's coming out of retrograde on Sunday the 22nd. And so once this week is finished, nothing is going backwards. We have 88 days of everything in forward motion. And if you've done your homework, if you've managed to survive the last, I don't know, however many weeks this has been going on where people have been really crazy. For me, it's been kind of intensified since the middle of December, but we all have slightly different cycles. If you've been running and running and running and feeling like you just can't get ahead, but if you've managed in there to eke out some time to think about what you want your life to really look like in 2003, you're finally going to get the opportunity to begin to start launching those ideas in practice, and 3 months to get some real traction behind them. So I hope, even though it's been crazy, you've been using some of that wait time that you might have had, spinning your wheels to pay it forward, or at least plan it forward so that you're ready to go when, all the blinders are off.
And you meant 2023, right? You said
23, yes.
2003. That's like, we're going way back in time.
Still not on the right. When you back in the days and we had to write out checks, and for a month you would be writing the wrong date. I feel like that in my head.
That's literally one of the things I've done incorrectly in this last month is write a check, which is completely wrong. So yes. So when you're saying everything is going into forward motion,
Right.
what does that mean for people? Does that mean that life in general will start to feel like it's moving forward? Does that mean that things are going to feel like they're speeding up? Like, how is that going to be experienced for us?
Well, different people will experience things different ways. Generally speaking, at any given time, there are 2 to 3 planets that appear from our position on Earth to be backtracking in the sky. And planets are accustomed to going forward. Having to sort of slow down and retrace their steps feels like we have to review the areas of life governed by those particular planets involved. And so since there's always a few backtracking, we have a natural break in our system. We always have something that's going, hey, wait. Let me check this out. You might want to think about this. And so that's business as usual. It's unusual to have 88 days. That's like this whole space between 2 Mercury retrogrades with nothing retrograde, which means there's nobody saying slow down. So that depends on how you ask that question. If you're the type of person who really doesn't need a planetary mommy telling them, hey, maybe that's not such a good idea, you're fine. It just means there's not stuff in your way. So if you're naturally cautious, you're naturally dotting your I's and crossing your T's and making sure they're done, you're good. If you're the type of person that perhaps should have someone saying, I'm not sure that's such a good idea, maybe you should think about that twice. There'll be nobody checking up on them. So depends on how you look at it. It's either the perfect time to put all your plans in action, or it's the perfect time to run your car off a cliff. And just think carefully, because you will have to rely on your own common sense in some situations, because when there's nothing in the way of you doing your stuff, I'm looking forward to it, but then I'm a planner. But kind of depends on where you think you fall on the spectrum of humans.
Mm. Are there any particular signs that we'll be experiencing it more one way versus another? Like any particular placements that will indicate that this is going to be like green light, all systems go in a positive way versus what you just said about driving the car off the cliff?
Well, because this period of time lasts for 3 months, different people are going to feel it at different points, like a more of a forward thinking. In the middle of all of this transition that's happening, March is a big month because most of the planets change signs. So Pluto's changing signs, and Mars is changing signs, and Saturn's changing signs. And that's going to shift the whole story for a lot of people, which would take a lot longer than we have to talk about in our podcast. But people in future weeks will be talking about those moments and how it affects our lives. I think right now, everyone's just going to feel so relieved that it finally feels like there's this weight lifted off of us and we are moving into a new future. And that new future is going to require a little thinking outside the box. As we talked about before on other forecasts, for the next few months, Mars is still out of bounds. Even though he's coming out of retrograde, he's not behaving normally. And so Mars out of bounds is like, I'm just going to use my energy however I want to, and I don't really care what the rules are. So there's some rule breaking going on. The moon is spending more time also beyond its normal range of activity. It's more willing to break the rules. It's usually about, nurturing and what feels comfortable. And so it might be moments where we are all like, wait, just because I was doing it that way before doesn't mean I have to keep doing it that way. And that can make some people feel uncomfortable. But, in the grand scheme of things, if you look around at the world at how much isn't working, because technology has changed and our view of society has changed and our relationship to the environment is changing, we need to change a lot of things. We need to break some rules because the old rules aren't working. So I think in the big picture, a little bit of rule breaking right now is not a bad thing. It just might feel uncomfortable for some people. If you're used to holding on to this sense of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and that feeling is gone, it can make you feel uncomfortable. It can be scary. But when you look back at it and go, wow, I grew, I got bigger, I shed my skin and did something new, could be epically amazing for a lot of people who felt like they've been stuck in a situation that's, as some people would say, past its sell-by date. It's time. They should have gotten rid of it a while ago, and they didn't. Now may be the time over the next 3 months or so where a lot of people make some changes, and it correlates with all that shift that's going on in March.
What's the theme of the week, Donna? What would you say is the overarching energy?
I think the fact that all of these planets all these retrogrades are ending. So if I could pick up a theme that has to do with the end of retrogrades, the end of the stuck period, what's a good word for that?
Mm.
We got one
Uh,
week left.
Something about stagnation being like
Stagnation ending,
out of stagnation and into.
acceleration.
There you go. I like that.
Okay.
All right. So let's walk through the week. What are we looking at today, Monday, and let's just look at the
Mon-
energy for today.
Monday and Tuesday are pretty typical days, few aspects with the moon. Mercury comes out of retrograde on Wednesday. So for the first half of the week, you're going to feel Mercury retrogrades are more difficult when Mercury isn't moving at all, or at least appear. I mean, the planets are always moving. It just appears from our position on Earth that it's not going anywhere. And so the worst parts of retrogrades for this Mercury one was like around the 28th, 29th, 30th, around the new year for Mercury. And now as it moves into changing back to go. So it's got this sort of, it has to get a little bit worse before it gets better, but it's almost there. So hang in there and be grateful that Monday and Tuesday aren't that complicated, because hopefully there won't be that much stuff getting planned that you're going to get tied up in. So the Mercury retrograde ends on Wednesday. Another thing that's happening on Wednesday that I hope doesn't get lost in all the other amazing things that are happening is that the sun is meeting up with the planet Pluto. Happens once a year, and it's a great time to do a little bit of shadow work. The sun is a planet that symbolizes our consciousness. It's how we find the truth, how we see. Just think of when you go outside. I mean, you see things in the daytime because the sun is big and bright and shining on everything, so you can see where you're going. At night, you can't because there's not that much light in the world. So that's what sun's function is, to help you visualize what's happening. Pluto, on the other hand, is down in the underworld. It's the stuff that we hide from ourselves because we're ashamed of it, or we've repressed it, or we're just not ready to handle it. All that stuff is bubbling around in our personal underworld, our personal unconscious, and Pluto's in charge of that. So the planet that helps you to see is meeting up for the once a year meeting with the planet that holds the keys to the stuff you don't want to see. It's kind of like, the cosmos shining a flashlight into your shadows. So I hope if you make a date with yourself to do a little shadow work this week, definitely make it on Wednesday. Because, quite frankly, with Mercury turning direct, you shouldn't be out and about anyway. So, hey, sit down, do a little shadow work. It'll be good for you all around. Thursday, Thursday's an odd day only because the moon is void for 9 hours. So I think it's kind of the hangover of Mercury going direct. If you happen to be in Europe or Africa, it's going to be that 9 hour void is the whole work day. So it's a great day to just don't have big meetings that day, because whatever you decide won't stick. If you happen to live in the Americas, that void is happening in the morning hours until a little bit after lunchtime. So again, if you happen to be in the workforce, big meetings on that morning, not a great time. Void moons, I remember when I would drive my daughter to school, people would be late. They'd be confused. There'd be more accidents because people weren't paying attention. Strange dreams could happen on Thursday morning. So just mark that on your calendar as a time to catch up with yourself and maybe fix all the things that broke with the Mercury retrograde. You get a chance to catch up with yourself. And then on Friday, whoop, the energy's changing. Sun's moving into Aquarius. All of Capricorn season is over. Whole new energy rushing in. I always think of Aquarius as like Capricorn's the dark side, Aquarius is the light side. So the lights are going on in a big way. Aquarian energy is, if you put it in the cycle of the hero's journey, Capricorn's the type of testing when we are trying to use our discipline, self-discipline, and what our metal as in like how strong we are. We learn through trials and difficult situations. When we move into Aquarius, it's like the aha moment that, whenever you've been in something hard and you've been trying and working, and eventually you're like, oh, wait, I get it. And you get to shift gears and go off in a new direction. That's the energy of Aquarius. It's the aha moment that teaches you to let the light in a profound kind of way that's a little harder to talk about, because it's like, oh, where did that come from? It's our first inkling of our connection with our divine spark within. And so it can be a really powerful time to, again, open the doors and think things differently, which is why I think it's so perfect that it's happening more or less at the same time that we're coming out of all of these sort of slowing down retrogrades. So with that sun entering a new sign, you can always use the chart of a sun entering a new sign when you want to forecast the entire month ahead. And the weird thing about all of the zodiac seasons, so the ones that we had for Scorpio and Sagittarius, all the way through Aries, that 6-month period, because of the way the sun and the moon have aligned, the moon has been like in its final crescent phase. It's waning crescent phase for all of them, which means there's something about the forecast for the entire 6-month period, which is about the ending of things. It's just another way we underline when cycles in astrology repeat in multiple different places, astrologers know that something's up. Something's up and we have to deal with it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be showing up like, over here on that side and up there on that side. And we look over here and the same thing. It's like, well, okay. Kind of like you go to see an astrologer and they give you one message and you're like, okay. You go to a tarot reader, you get the same message and you're like, wait, how come I'm getting the same message in different places? Because the universe is trying to get you to like pay attention. So we are wrapping up some big cycles right now and the moon's helping out with that process, right? And then finally, once we get past and into the next day, we are moving into the new moon in Aquarius. And the new moon in Aquarius, because it's so close to the ingress, has a lot of the same energy. There's a freshness to it. And it also happens to be the Chinese New Year. So people around the world, this is one of the largest celebrated holidays of the year. 1 billion Chinese people and people all throughout Asia celebrate this day. They go home. It's a great big festival of light in the middle of the winter. It's a festival of good luck, good fortune, for prosperity. All the rituals tie into doing those things like celebrating with fireworks or lanterns. It lasts from the new moon in Aquarius to the full moon in Leo every year. And it makes it the largest holiday in the world today that's based on astrological principles. Think about that, because everyone's celebrating around a lunar cycle. And so I always love tuning into the energies of the Chinese New Year. It's the year of the rabbit, and we've just come out of the year of the tiger. And these animals are in place of the zodiac signs. So it's tiger and rabbit instead of, Capricorn and Leo and all the rest of them. And the meaning of the Chinese animals is pretty much in alignment with what the animals are like. So last year was the tiger, very fierce, very protective, very hard charging. And the rabbit's very different than that. It's much gentler, it's calmer. So I'm voting this year that the Chinese are correct. This is going to be a kinder, gentler year. And we will all get a little bit of a break because it's been, as one late night commentator said, welcome to the third installment of 2020. And it will be nice if we feel like we are moving out of some old cycles into some new cycles, even if it's a little scary because we have to create something new as we go. I'm hoping some of that fear, I don't want to change. You know how it is? Like when you have to go to something that you don't want to do, like, I don't know, the dentist or the DMV or something else, and you just dread it. And you're like, oh my God. And you dread it. And the run up to it is the worse than the actual doing of the thing that you have been dreading. So I feel like this last couple years has been like the dreading of we have to do something new. And maybe we're finally beginning the walk. And it's going to take a little while. It's not going to happen overnight. But to bring in new ideas, new concepts, new ways of doing things that we're going to get a little glimpse of in the spring of this year in a way that gives us hope that we don't have to keep spinning and spinning around the same crazy.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all the astrologers talk about leaning into change, that at least through this Mars and Mercury retrograde period, it's like, okay, I'm doing my best to lean into change, but it just hasn't felt like that ripe moment for the change to actually take place, right? So what you're saying is that we're now in that place where the change will be. And the good news is that it feels like it's been brewing for a while,
It's stating.
It's gestating. Exactly. Yes.
So if I don't know, you guys might be a lot like me. I have this feeling that astrologers aren't that different from normal people in many respects. And it's been crazy the last, 3 or 4 weeks. There have been so many things with the holidays and with family things. And, astrologers don't really get to take holidays. So we've got work on top of all of that. If you look around my life, it's a disaster. The dishes are piled up, the floors, the dog got the chew toys with the fluff in them from the holidays. And so there's fluff, and I don't think I'll ever find all the wrapping paper because it's just everywhere. And this is the time to clean all that stuff up and clear the decks, make sure the house is done, make sure you've got all your appointments. I have like a list of things that have to be canceled, like subscriptions and things that I've just been putting off. All that stuff, that's what you do this week. You clear the decks, clean the house, call the cleaners, whoever, return all the things that you got for the holidays that you didn't want or were broken when they arrived. If that sounds too autobiographical, that's okay. That's just me. Whatever needs to happen that hasn't happened, just get it done. Get it out of the way. And the other thing to spend some time doing is, what do you want to create in the next 3 months? If you had a magic wand and you could start making it happen, what would it be? And because honestly, if you don't have clarity about what you want in your world, you're never going to stop spinning because you don't know what you want. And if your inner magical ability to manifest things is uncertain, you just go around and around, not really doing anything. And that's probably the negative side of the rabbit. If you get into fear and if you get into feeling timid, you're not going to be able to move forward the way you want. So clear out stuff, ask yourself what you want, do that this week, and then know that the universe is going to be much more supportive of those plans when you have a time to make some space to do them. Plus, I don't know about you, but having a clear house, I feel so much more able in a position to be able to go and do all the things that I want to do than if I had this nagging feeling that, God, my dishes are just piled everywhere. And okay, could be the fact that I'm a little bit of Virgo, maybe a lot of Virgo, but I do think that most people just feel lighter when they're not surrounded by a bunch of clutter.
Oh, yeah. I think that it is a physical representation of like a blank canvas in a way, and it could be for some people, it's the car, like getting the car washed and clearing out the back. And maybe for some people, it's your body, maybe it's doing some sort of detox or some sort of fast or something that is just like, okay, this is a physical representation of my desire to clear out old things that are no longer welcomed, needed, wanted, and prepare sacred space, whether, again, that's your body, your house, your car, whatever it is, for whatever's next. And I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I completely agree. Everything Amanda said is a good idea.
This week? You're saying this week. Good idea.
This is your last chance to clear things out and figure out what you want before. I think of these cycles as, you're on a roller coaster and it's cranking up and up and up and up, and then it drops you off the other side. We're just cranking up, and I feel the cranking. And I know as soon as I get to that last Uranus turning direct, we're down the other side. Yes. So there's not going to be time to make your plans. You're going to be holding on because everything's going to start happening all at once. And if you're okay with that kind of rush of energy, you're going to be ecstatic. If you've been like, but I didn't get this done and I didn't get that done, I'm like, you know what? At that point, you just got to go. It's just happening and got to go with it. It's like, well, you know what it feels like when you have to do live presentations and the cameras go on. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter what happened before. You're going now and you've got people to talk to and things to see. And here we are. And it's like we've switched from being like on a recorded version to being live.
Wow. I love that. I in those moments, I always remind myself to trust my training, even if it wasn't like official training, but like just trust all the day-to-day actions that you've been taking up until this moment, that you are ready for whatever that live broadcast version of your life is. The other thing I was thinking too, another place where it's like extraordinarily frustrating for me when I haven't cleared things out is things like passwords, like usernames and passwords, like having those in an organized space so that you're not trying to do something. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what the login is, those little tiny frustrations that happen. It's like just getting the systems down for yourself that make life easier for yourself in the future.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's going to be okay. For my personal life, that is going to be my focus. And
Mm.
I have plans for what I'm going to do next. And if you want to do what the astrologers do, I think a lot of the astrologers are doing exactly the same thing. We're taking inventory, we're clearing things out, and we're delaying the launches of our new ideas, our new things until we get past the 22nd at least.
Yeah.
And we're going to see where it goes after that.
Donna, what about financial matters? Like, what about people that are like trying to get their financial world in order? Is there any planetary support for that at this point?
I'm only hesitating with this funny face because it's a weird time to talk about finances. I remember when Pluto moved into Capricorn. It was 2008. And it wasn't long after that the entire stock market went kablooey because of the housing crisis.
Yeah.
And it reset our whole understanding of markets. It crashed everyone's portfolios. And yes, we've built back since then. But that was a really scary time for a lot of people, especially people who were in retirement age. They saw, a lifetime of savings just sort of vanish with a few digital clicks. I don't think that we have to go through that again. One, I think there's been some changes to prevent some of that from happening again. And two, you don't always have to do things at the end of a cycle that you did in the beginning of a cycle. But that being said, Pluto is moving signs. And he's moving from earthy Capricorn, which is all about institutions and economies and things, into an airy space. So the energy is going to be different as Pluto moves, but it's also technology. And Pluto teaches us lessons very quickly about the broken underside of things. And as he moves into Aquarius, we're going to get a lesson in the darker side of what technology is creating in our worlds. And so that may be anything from, recognizing the impact the internet and the algorithms have had on our social society and our social fabric. It could be the role screen time has had for small children. It could be all kinds of things and everything in between. It could be our electrical grids falling down. It could be our communication systems no longer working. It could be solar flares that take out satellites. All of these things are possible and not necessary that they're going to happen, but something is going to happen to make us, in a Plutonic way, reevaluate what it means to be connected in systems and how our technology is playing into this process. And if something like that happens right after Pluto moves in, or even over the next year, it's not going to happen in a vacuum because economies are tied to what's happening to us. So I wouldn't be surprised if the markets have some ups and downs over the coming few years, adjusting to the new normal. I wouldn't panic over them. I don't think they're going to go down permanently, but I would, if it were me and I were running my own investment firm, I would be cautious of the uncertainty. But I bet if you ask anybody who has a financial background, they'd be telling you the same thing because so many things are a little bit uncertain right now. The long-term forecast looks good. We will find a way through all of this, but just in the short term, I would say it would be a little up and downy. And if you are trying to get your finances sorted out, same things apply. Get all cleaned out this week. Call your people, make sure you've got your paperwork in order, make sure you're that stuff is downloading properly. All of that's a retrograde thing to do.
Mm. Thankfully, this is one of the reasons why we're doing the quarterly financial outlook series with financial astrologer Mitchell Scott Lewis, which Q1 is open and available right now. If you want more astrological insights into how to ride those up and down waves, this is going to be an amazing series. Each quarter, you're going to get the financial outlook for the quarter ahead based on the astrology. And that's at astrologyhub.com/outlook. That's OUTLOOK, astrologyhub.com/outlook. And this was one of the reasons why we looked at the astrology of the next couple of years. It's like, wow, people are going to need some confidence and clarity and peace around the financial situation. And just having forewarning and having awareness can be one of the best ways to feel some sort of like, okay, at least I know what's coming. And at least I can make my financial decisions with some more data points than just, what the news is saying or, what everybody in my social circle is saying, et cetera.
I really believe when we get around to 2026, things are going to feel very different.
Mm.
And it's just a little bumpy before we get into the new. And it means, creative destruction means things have to fall apart in order to recreate something else. And it's just a phase of life. And we understand that more the older we get, that some things have to go away to make room for something new. And if you haven't gotten used to that concept yet, you're going to get used to that concept that some things are going to be going away, but new things are coming. And overall, we're grateful because what's coming new, if you apply your consciousness to this situation, will be in better alignment with what your soul needs to do. That's the big if. You have to bring your awareness. And that's one of the big gifts of astrology is it can give you a sounding board so that you can bring more conscious awareness in the moments while they're happening.
Awesome. Amazing. Couldn't agree anymore with that statement. What about Sunday? So we left off on Saturday.
Yeah, Sunday is when Uranus comes out of retrograde. So when you have the forecast for the following week, you are going to start it with no retrogrades at all.
Wow.
For 88 days. And whoa, here we go. So this is really your last week. And you burst out of the tunnel on late on Sunday, somewhere on Sunday. Actually, I would say give it a little bit for Uranus to like speed up and start moving. So probably a few days later before you really feel the effects, unless you're like a clock watching astrologer and you're just like, just go, move. Woo-hoo! Okay, I'm done. I'm going to go now.
That's
astrologers like that.
And basically how I feel right now. I normally would not put myself in that category, but I feel like I've been a clock watching astrology lover for the last couple of weeks. Okay, so we're basically talking about 88 days of all planetary movement forward that begins this week. If you feel like you need your life to be sort of governed, like you need the breaks, or else you're going to get yourself into some crazy situations, maybe you'll have to play the role of cautionary.
Maybe you should have a friend.
A friend. There you go.
Maybe you should have a no retrograde buddy.
There you go. Awesome. So someone that you bounce things off. Yeah.
Yes. Someone who's not likely to be going, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Because you don't necessarily need that kind of friend. You need a friend that's like, whoa, are you sure you want to do that? That kind of friend. You all know the difference.
Amazing. All right. So by March, March is a huge month because Pluto, Mars, and Saturn are all changing signs. So we have this period of time where it's just like all systems go. And it's going to feel like there's a bit of a weight lifting off of us. And also this is a great time to change things that you've been doing one way for a very long time. Look at those things. Be like, just because I've been doing it that way doesn't mean I necessarily have to keep doing it that way. This is a time to potentially break some of your own old rules and rewrite the script. Because again, this is such a period, an overarching period that we're in of change. Like it's just change. So where is it time to be doing something totally new? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have Mercury retrograde it turns direct on Wednesday, but we may be feeling the Mercury retrograde symptoms of things sort of breaking down or miscommunications, and that we may be feeling it even more in the
Yeah.
beginning of the week.
Tends to
Yeah.
intensify, but they're not complicated days. So I think just things are just like, stuff is going to get lost. Just calm down. You'll find it.
Yeah.
Number of times I've lost my glasses in the house, walking through my house. I want to put an Apple tag on them because it's getting ridiculous. And it's just little things like that. And I go, I haven't left the house. They are in here. They're not on the floor. You will find them. And so it's just, it's a reminder to slow down and pay attention to what you're doing. That's what Mercury is trying to teach us.
Yeah.
And we just don't like it because we have a bias for action. We like just going and doing our next thing and taking it for granted. And Mercury's like, no, you're supposed to be having a timeout right now. I'm having a timeout. I am hanging out in the bar with retrograde Mars and retrograde Uranus. What's your problem? And we only suffer when we don't follow the prompts that we're getting on a cosmic level. And so we can make fun of it and we can bemoan it. But the cosmos isn't broken. It's our issue because we're not playing along. And so if we would all just agree to go and hang out in the bar with Mercury and Uranus and Pluto and Mars, we would be fine. But we're not going to do that. We're stubborn. We like doing things our way. And so we insist on trying to push through regardless. And so here we are laughing about it. We laugh at ourselves.
Exactly. It's the best when we're completely aware of everything, of the planetary energies, and we're still fighting against it. Like, this is hilarious. Okay. So Wednesday, we also have Sun meeting Pluto. This happens once a year. This is a great opportunity to really pay attention to some of the subconscious things that get illuminated on this day. They're coming up as I always like to think of them presenting us with gifts. There's the things that we couldn't see before.
Could be the stuff that just blurts out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, that is true. Why didn't I see it that way before?
Right.
So just pay attention. And if you do shadow work, it's a good time to put on your calendar that this is my hour and I'm going to journal and see what comes up. Great day for therapy. If you are in long-term therapy, make sure you schedule a therapy appointment that day. You might have a breakthrough because you saw something in a way you didn't see it before.
It could also be a great day to schedule an astrology reading with an astrologer like Donna, who is actually going to make herself available on the Astrologer Connect platform this week for our podcast listeners. So if you want to book a reading with Donna or catch her instant, so sometimes when she is on the platform, she can turn her little green light on and say, hey, I'm available for readings right now. You can connect with her via chat or audio or video. Just go to astrologyhub.com/astrologer connect and look for Donna and see if her little green light's on, or you can book a reading with her for the future. Yeah. All right. Okay. So Thursday, we have void moon most of the day, no big meetings. What you decide today isn't really going to stick anyways. So don't spend a whole lot of time belaboring certain decisions that you need to make. This is a great day to catch up with yourself. Friday, we have the sun moving into Aquarius. This is like the lights are going on. This is an opportunity for new doors to open, to think things through differently. This can also be the signification of the ending of things. Saturday, new moon in Aquarius, and the new moon in Aquarius all the way to the full moon in Leo is the Chinese New Year. I love what you shared about the Chinese New Year and it being the largest astrologically based holiday that the world celebrates. Love it. This is the year of the rabbit, so hopefully it's going to be a little more cuddly and soft and cute.
Hope.
Yes. All right. And really the message for right now is clear stuff out. What do you want? And also, what do you want to create in the next 3 months? And on Sunday, we have Uranus going out of retrograde. And so we're basically
There you go.
put on the put in the
up over the top of the thing and down we go.
Yes.
Just can you imagine what the world would be if everyone just sat down and was like, what would my ideal place for the next 3 months be? Not worrying about the long-term future, just what I can do right now to change my circumstances so I can make it better for myself and for the people around me. If we could all just agree to do that, we would have like a little 3-month sprint into massively improving the direction that the world is going.
I love that. I love that. We're going to do that. Astrology Hub community. We're going to be doing that this week. What
Excellent.
do I want to create in the next 3 months? Yeah,
There you
I
go.
love it. Donna, thank you. This has been so much fun. So
Oh,
appreciate you. If you are interested in, like I said, Donna is available for readings on our Astrologer Connect platform. That's astrologyhub.com/astrologer connect. She's also available, or she's also taught an amazing class with us, Intro to Astrological Magic. This is one of our most beautifully done, most brilliantly done classes that we offer. And it's an amazing way to get experience or to get ways to work with the planetary energies directly and to really cultivate your own relationship with Saturn, with Mars, with Mercury, with Venus, so that you can really pull the energies into your life. Embodied.
Is the work
Yes.
that you want. And the way I describe it to people is if you have an intellectual connection to the planets, that's great. A lot of astrologers do, but you're only using half of the wiring you were given. The
Mm.
other half of of your wiring is all about feeling sensation and feeling things in your body. And if you truly want to fire on all cylinders when you're doing astrology, you have to honor that other half of you. Hence why you need to learn how to embody the planets, especially if you are wanting to work with the astrological wisdom with other people, because you can't speak for the planets if they can't speak through you.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love what you just said there, Donna. That's brilliant. That's available at astrologyhub.com/magic intro. Astrologyhub.com/magic intro. So, Donna, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. We've loved having you in the inner circle. We've loved being able to connect with you here on the weekly weather. Just looking forward to seeing more of you.
Well, I love being here with you, Amanda. You know that. And I'm so grateful that you are doing this work and holding the space. We all need it. So thank you to all of the people who tuned in and are doing the work.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of our community. And as always, thank you for making astrology a part of your life. We'll catch you on the next episode.